Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Faith and Fandom Feedback Friday podcast. Hope you all are doing well as my lips got weird for a minute. Sorry. Hope you all are doing well as we are kicking off the weekend. Ooh. Um, yeah, it's been a week. I don't know about y'all, but if you ever actually have time off and then you come back from being off to uh trying to go back to your normal work life, that junk's bananas. Like absolute bananas. I'm tired. But glad to be here. Glad y'all are here. Y'all that join in. Remember, you can always watch this on Facebook. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on Instagram, at least while it's live. I don't know if I'll always put it on Instagram permanently, but it'll be on our podcast channel as well. Um, Go ahead and let you know, for y'all that actively listen to this. I plan to not do a stream on April 30th. I'm planning to go on a hiking trip for my birthday. And my birthday's May 12th. But I also work at a college and graduation's around then, so there isn't a lot of time for me to take time off. So between the ministry I work with my church doing a golf tournament on May 8th and the college I work with doing a golf tournament the following week, it's whatever. So planning to spend a couple days hiking two different mountains. Yeah. But let's jump in it. Let's get some news going. That's good. My daughter picked out a flavor of coffee and it's pretty great. What's up, Tristan? Good morning, dude. I don't know why my Facebook's being weird. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to the comments. It's being funky Cole Medina. There we go. Good morning, Tristan. Um, yeah, first news, and this isn't something that I haven't said before, but uh the My Hero Academia finale did not include the last section of the manga. So if you are a fan of My Hero Academia, there is one last episode or special coming, and it will drop on May 2nd. And this episode will feature Ochaka and Deku finally asking at least about going out on a date, um, and beginning their adult life and relationships. Kind of seeing where everybody else is too. But yeah, that will drop on May 2nd. Uh, Someone drove a vehicle into the giant pillars in front of the Ruby Tuesdays in Lumberton, North Carolina. I know that only affects like two of you, but I'll let you know. Two of you because two of you from Lumberton might watch this stream, not because two people eat at Ruby Tuesdays. I won't say numbers for that one. Um, and This was something that happened on last Friday, which was Good Friday, but I didn't catch it in the news until afterwards. The uh Pentagon made the rather uh non-inclusive decision to only host Good Friday services for Protestants and not for Catholics. Um, and the message said no Catholic mass. And I get that like you can't accommodate everybody, but it seems a bit weird to straight up just go out of your way to not include Catholic people on Good Friday. That's just that one's a weird one for me. Um, I get it. It fits the vibe of what we're doing as a country, in a lot of ways, but also that's just really weird to do that. Tristan says he can't wait for the final episode. I don't know that unless you're just people who really like Ochaka and Deku as a couple, like I don't know that there's a lot to look forward to because I've read the manga and unless they're adding more to the manga, there's not like a ton of content there. Ugh. Jonathan Majors recently returned to more acting work, and he is making a film with the Daily Wire, and the he fell through a window on an action set that he wasn't supposed to fall through because the window wasn't supposed to break. And that there are safety concerns, there are union issues, and the crew leading it walked off stage. And basically, the whole production is kind of like falling into some drama because stuff isn't being the way it's supposed to be. So that's that. And that's, I feel for him in the manner that it's unfortunate that your first film you return to is like you go from like Marvel movies and infinite budgets to you're getting hurt because people aren't building things properly. That's a that's definitely a separate vibe. Um, Darren, good morning, man. I'm trying to stay on this for some reason weirdly lately. Uh, Comments don't show up unless I'm like refreshing and stuff, so I'm trying to be on top of that. A man was found dead inside a Lumberton apartment this week, after a shooting. I've not seen more details on that in this process. Um, Prime Video's Tomb Raider, starring Sophie Turner of Game of Thrones fame, had to stop production for a couple of weeks because Sophie suffered an injury while filming Tomb Raider, which I've seen some of the action on of her guns ablazing and stuff, and it does look very action packed. I could see honestly how she could get hurt filming stuff like that. So yeah, Sophie Turner got hurt. If you're not aware, over the last few years, in Japan, in the hometown of One Piece's creator, um, they built giant golden slash bronze statues of the One Piece crew and scattered them all across the region, which has dramatically increased tourism as people are going to take their photos with the individual statues. Um, and people are leaving rather sizable amounts of coin and money at Nami's statue and sticking them in every crevice in Nami that they can because Nami would approve. So that's like they had to ask, is this a security risk? Is this a whatever? They're like, no, Nami would want this. Um, a Nathan Martin won the Los Angeles Marathon in the closest finish ever in the race's history, beating Kenyan runner Michael Kimani, Kamau, by a fraction of a second. He finished the marathon. Keep in mind, a marathon's like what, 26 miles, right? Somewhere in there. Um, he finished the marathon in 2 hours and 11 minutes and 16 seconds. And if you watch the video, it's one of those situations where uh, Kimani literally slowed his stride to like relish breaking the what do you call it? Hey, strawberry patch cards. Um, he slowed to break the finish line, and then Nathan just like sprinted right past him. So the dude was literally like one step from victory and slowed down just enough for Nathan to outrun him, which was, kind of a tragedy in its own right. But it happens. But obviously don't do that in your life. Don't slow down when you're almost there. Uh, there's a crazy situation in boxing this week. Um, as two boxers, Wilder and Chisora, were battling, and Wilder knew he was about to knock this man out cold with one shot, and he got the man into the corner of the ring, and you can watch his mouth and his eyes say this. He says, "I'm sorry, I love you," and then knocked him slam out. But the dude he knew in his heart of hearts, he was about to put the finishing move on this guy and took the time to say, "I'm sorry, I love you," right before literally giving this dude a dose of ZQuil. And uh, so yeah, the Childer Chisora fight, uh, or sorry, the Wilder and Chisora fight. Yeah, it's if nothing else, that one clip is worth watching. Um, a high school musical, or sorry, not high school musical, a high school band had their instruments stolen the day before their performance in the Disney parade. Ohio's Ashland High School music department had to go through Orlando and borrow mu their instruments from local bands and schools to try and piece together enough equipment to do the performance. They did, it worked out well, but also I've been in marching band situations like this where you drive across the country with a high school band, and that's a nightmare. Um, Imagine trying to get around in Orlando traffic to actually find instrumentation to be able to do. It's just a lot. Like, praise God on that, but the logistics on that want to give me a headache. If you're not aware, Little Nas X, the Old Town Road musician, got arrested for assaulting police officers while on drugs. Um, Earlier in 2025. Um, a judge has ordered that Little Nas X's assault charges will be dropped if he completes mental health treatment. So, that's the current standing on things. Uh, a lot's gone on this week with the war on Iran, and again, I try not to deep dive into the political commentary on things because I don't find it fruitful. But one of the biggest like shock things this week was that President Trump um made the statement in a tweet, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again." I don't want this to happen, but it probably will. Um like as he threatened for the ceasefire and the um for the Strait of Hormuz, or Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz to be opened, but literally opening the tweet with "a whole civilization will die tonight." I- That's some Emperor Palpatine stuff to say that. Now, they did eventually arrive at a ceasefire. It's 2 week ceasefires. They discussed these things. Um, Nas X needs Jesus. We all do, buddy. We all do. But especially his struggles and mental health and identity things, and there's a lot going on there. Yeah, not no disagreement. Um, Couple music notes for the crew of the Artemis, the shuttle that went to the moon or past the moon and went the furthest that men and women have gone, period. And they had a good morning playlist, in their good morning, or sorry, they had in their wake up playlist, they had Good Morning featuring Toby Mac and Mandisa. Um, would be one of the songs they woke up to in the mornings, which, was fun. Also, 21 Pilots made it into their musical lineup once they hit their halfway point. Once they started their return journey home, the 21 Pilots song Ride was part of their return home music. Um, and there'll be some more stuff on the crew of the Artemis, because they use their platform pretty strongly, for some stuff. A North Carolina mother is demanding answers after her son, Messiah Robinson, was found dead in the Cape Fear River. Um, and it's a young local boy, and so there's no reason for him to be in the river. He wouldn't have gone in the river. And they suspect foul play, and there's not a lot of evidence showing otherwise, so she's demanding answers from local authorities with that, and I'm sorry for their loss. Um, but before the communications blackout with the Artemis, they took the time to go into referencing Jesus, and they said that what they see in the planet and what the whole world is about is love, and even went on to say that Christ said in response to what the greatest command is to love your neighbor and love yourself. And they went on pretty deeply to share the gospel with a public platform while they had it, in a very non-abrasive but still genuine way. And I was pretty impressed to hear it. One of the things that I just genuinely enjoy is, like, quite often you don't meet many people who go to space and be like, you know what, never mind. There's no God. You don't see that very often. Um, in a heartbreaking piece of news, especially for my community or my neighboring community, Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is my next big city up, is where I do a lot of stuff. In Fayetteville, North Carolina, a staple of the coffee community and the arts community shut down abruptly after 30 years of business. The coffee scene is one of the places in Fayetteville that is known for open mics, and they've provided many opportunities for poets, musicians, comedians, and stuff like that. It's one of the best places for coffee and a cannoli. People do their work there, people do their meetings there. I've had a lot of interactions there, a lot of come to Jesus conversations, and a lot of stress and drama too. But the coffee scene shut down all three locations after just adding a new location in downtown Fayetteville last year. And there hasn't been a lot of response or reasons why, but there have been a lot of people mourning the connection and the opportunities that the venue provided. So that is a great loss for our community, and I do feel that. Uh, in good news and positive things that the church did. Patrick, good morning, man. Um, Alfred Street Baptist Church in Alexandria, Virginia, raised $1 million and then gave away $1 million um, to stop the evictions for more than 300 families in low income housing and other homes throughout the Virginia area. So this church pulled together $1 million and then gave it away, to help families at their lowest moment. And I think that deserves some love and some applause. And I hope they get all their crowns in heaven on that capacity. Um, if you're familiar with NPR or music in general, one of the honors of being a certain status as an artist is to do a tiny desk concert. Um, and this week, for the first time in history, uh, NPR had a Christian artist do a full Tiny Desk concert. And the artist to get that honor is Lecrae. Lecrae with a live band performed 8 tracks of his music. Um, NPR made the statement, if we're putting a spotlight on faith-based hip hop, we had to start with Lecrae. The devotion is unapologetic and his music is real. Lecrae did his Tiny Desk concert, and the little bit I heard was good, but he did 8 songs um, with a live band, and NPR was very pleased with it. They thought he did a great job. And so that's, good for him, good for Christian community. I'm also just kind of shocked that it took this long for a Christian artist to do a Tiny Desk concert. I know that What Up No that No Big Deal did a Tiny Desk submission, but I know that doesn't mean it's the same thing as being that's not the same. Uh but yeah, created that, covered that. Bethel Church has been going through some stuff following an allegation or allegations in 2026 about failing to lead with urgency and transparency regarding 2019 allegations of towards Sean Bowles. And so they are bringing in third-party investigators to check out their leadership structure and to look at how things are going and to investigate the culture and leadership there at that. Honestly, accountability is never a terrible thing if done right. In County, Florida, um, a train barely clipped the end of a bus that held 29 students. No one was killed or even seriously hurt. But these were kids with cell phones who were all panicking and freaking out at the fact that they could clearly see they were about to get hit by a train. And it's one of those situations where a bus driver stopped on the train tracks. Which, if you've ever been through bus driver training, hey, good morning, thanks for the love. Uh, if you've ever been through bus driver training, you know you don't stop on train tracks. You don't stop unless you've got a clear route over train tracks. And this person did not do that. And the bus driver was subsequently fired um, for that. And this is one of those situations where if I had the choice and I was in this situation as a bus driver, I would have bumped the car in front of me out of the way. But there's not a good choice, which is why you don't stop on train tracks. Um, yeah, bananas. Uh, a employee of Kimberly Clark Corporation, which is like a toiletries, paper towels manufacturing type situation, set an entire warehouse on fire during his break and live streamed the whole thing and posted it to his Instagram. He set toilet paper and paper towels on fire, igniting the blaze as the whole corporation took a break. Um, I guess trying to make sure that the people got out on time, which was appreciate that at the least. But he lit the place on fire, and what he kept repeating as he started the fires and as he lit the place ablaze was, all you had to do was pay us enough to live. And as he was lighting the things on fire, he was lighting individual rolls and all these things, saying all you had to do was pay us enough to live. Uh, and yeah, dude's 29 and now he's going to face several felony arson charges, which is just kind of crazy. And by the way, this was in Canada. But yeah, watching a whole paper towel and toilet paper factory go up in blazes was a lot. And let me clarify, that's Lecrae is the first Christian rapper to be on a Tiny Desk concert. I think some other people have qualified for different genres. The lady who sold Matthew Perry the ketamine that killed him is sentenced to 15 years in prison. The lady is known as the ketamine queen, um, is facing that. I mentioned 21 Pilot, or sorry, that Mandisa and Toby Mac was on the Artemis's Wake Up playlist. The some other tracks just for fun that were on there are Green Light by Andre 3000 and John Legend. Pink Pony Club by Chapel Roan. Uh, Working Class Heroes. It was from CeeLo Green. Yeah, definitely Good Morning was one of the best options on there. Um, Pokemon and the company You Treasure have now partnered together to be able to make custom Pokemon wedding rings. Um, you choose your colors, you choose your materials, you choose your Pokemon, and you and your spouse can get custom matching Pokemon wedding rings, which is, a great life choice. I don't disagree with that at all. HBO has found at least a two-season hit. Darren says he will get paid to live in a 6x6 for 20 years now. Yeah. Um, yeah. Uh, the HBO has found success in their new series Rooster, starring Steve Carell and Jamie Tart of Ted Lasso fame. Um, I've not watched it yet. I think it slipped my mind, and I've not had a ton of TV time that was allotted for heartfelt, focused comedies. But I'm glad it did well, and I look forward to checking it out. I want to give a special shout out to Alicia Smith, who doesn't know me and I don't know her. But I love good nerd marketing and not just nerdy stuff, but anytime you market well to something, I'm gonna give you some praises. Alicia Smith is a military spouse and realtor in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Culturally, if you're familiar with Fayetteville, um, Fayetteville is the home of the rapper J. Cole. Now, personally, I've never listened to a J. Cole song. That's not a flex. That's just the little bits I've heard were not my vibe. But part of J. Cole's aesthetic and stuff is in one of his earlier albums. He sat on the roof of his home and like he sat on the roof of his home and like took the album cover from sitting on the corner of his roof, and later on he would go on to list his actual address as part of the song lyrics so that people know that, like, and I'm saying this number off the top of my head, it's like 2410 Forest Hills Drive is J. Cole's former address. Well, Alicia Smith is the realtor in charge of selling J. Cole's former home. So Alicia Smith put on the same outfit that J. Cole was wearing, got on the roof of J. Cole's house, and took a photo recreating the album cover to announce that this house was for sale and made a pretty dope post advertising it. And like anytime I hear this, all I hear is there's an NF song that's like, "Sat on my roof like J. Cole. I sat on my roof like J. Cole." Like that's what goes through my mind. But I just think that's peak advertising. That's knowing your audience. That's knowing how to communicate. That's connecting on things you love. Just well done. Well done, Alicia Smith, and selling J. Cole's house by recreating J. Cole's album cover. Uh, the streamer and dabbler in wrestling, I Show Speed, um, is getting an anime from the One Piece showrunners as the writer. So the original One Piece showrunner for Netflix is writing an anime with uh I Show Speed. So that's fun. If you're an old head like me, you've probably got some low old Kindles laying around that you don't use. And every time one of my kids gets in a travel or road trip situation, we're always digging through old Kindles to try and find um, something to read on. But Amazon has started sending out notices this week that all Kindles older than 2013 are going to be done. So if you've got an old Paperwhite Kindle, if you've got one that existed before 2013, it's going to stop working. And you're going to need to work that situation out in your life. And to be fair, I watched my oldest daughter is so stubborn when it comes to not letting things go. And she spent 5 hours trying to get like a 2008 Kindle to function and work as far as like trying to update software manually, firmware updates, like calling Amazon customer support just because she didn't want to have to buy a new Kindle, which resulted in me buying a new Kindle just so she stopped annoying me with it. Um, but yeah, it's also the same way that she wanted to play Animal Crossing on our Switch 2 and couldn't get it back on her Switch 1, so I just let her take my Switch 2 to school. So it's whatever. Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, the Amazon series, has a, and I'm not going to say this is an official renewal, but a statement was made this week by one of the officials for the show that the ring will finish, or that the show will finish a 5 season arc, because regardless of performance, the show is under the special magical halo of Jeff Bezos's protection. That it's one of the shows that he's going to keep alive no matter what, because of the property, because of the rights and everything else, that he's not going to let that go. So, Rings of Power fans, y'all can probably unclench a little bit. Your show is probably not going anywhere, and I'm one of them. I enjoy Rings of Power a lot. I just wish it happened sooner. Like getting new seasons up to date. Mark Hamill this week officially gave his blessing for Dave Filoni, the Clone Wars creator, to be the new head of Star Wars, which all of us should pretty much be comfortable with. Netflix has announced a Lego One Piece animated special in which Usopp will be telling Chopper all about their adventures thus far before they got Chopper, and it'll be Usopp as a Lego embellishing all the stories. So that'll be great. The U.S. military will begin automatically registering Americans for draft at the age of 18 starting in December. So if you have an 18-year-old child, or you're turning 18 this December, you can be automatically registered for the draft. Pink will be not honing will be hosting the 2026 uh Tony Music Awards, or not Tony Music Awards, but the Tony Awards, the awards for theater and stage. This will take place on Sunday, June 7th at Radio City Music Hall. The Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Sherman has admitted and confessed to strangling 8 women, and he was found guilty on all those. An 18-wheeler carrying 9,000 gallons of gasoline erupted into flames after hitting another vehicle, which caused down power lines. And there's video footage and pictures of this giant truck of gasoline spewing flames. And this is the type of stuff that gives Final Destination writers ideas. Because I'm gonna tell you, that's a scary image. Um, Aubrey Plaza. Um, Owen did his last week right after his birthday. Oh wow, nice. Aubrey Plaza, the actress who played April Ludgate and also played Death recently in million other things. Aubrey Plaza is pregnant with her new partner, Chris Abbott. And I mean this with no shade, judgment, or anything. I'm just commenting on life being life. Getting pregnant within a year of your husband dying by suicide has to be an emotional roller coaster. Um, I just can't imagine the highs and lows and everything else that goes with that. So there's a lot to that. Congratulations, though, to her. I'm sure she'll make an awesome mom. Bill Gates has stepped up to testify in the House Oversight Committee as part of an ongoing investigation on the Epstein situation, the Epstein files, and all things Epstein related. Bill Gates has been one of the more publicly repentant people associated with the Epstein situation, owning his involvement and also like publicly repenting of it. But yeah, he signed up to be part of the investigation. Now, this one hits home for me a little bit. Um, this weekend, a lady saved a toddler's life in Florida at a park because this toddler ran out into a field of an egg drop. Now, an egg drop is a non-brilliant scenario in which you load Easter eggs full of prizes, invite the community out, and a helicopter drops thousands of eggs from the sky, and then the kids all run in and collect them in chaos. Um, you were supposed to wait until all the eggs have dropped before you go out, and this toddler did not get the memo. And this toddler ran out onto the field, like I guess the eggs had dropped, but they hadn't made it from the sky to the ground. And this toddler had run out into the middle of the field, and a woman sprinted out, scooped the kid up, and turned to run right as all the eggs were dropping to the ground. And just based on the amount of eggs and the ratio in which they hit, that child would have been in intensive care from the impact alone. Now, glad that kid's okay. Good job, lady. It makes me kind of just chuckle slightly inside just because this happened in my community years ago. The church I now pastor with, when they were launching, they were about trying to be cool and revolutionary, and they were trying to change the game and do like they were trying hard. And that's not shade. This was 2011. And they were trying to do new things. Um, and so they did an egg drop for Easter leading up to their first ever Easter service. And they did exactly what I just mentioned. Um, and I dealt with people in the community. At that point in time, I was not pastoring at this church. I was not part of this church. I was pastoring a different church about 15 minutes away. But, we talk in our communities about how things are being done. And there were so many people mad. They're like, how dare you spend that money on this and that? And like, I heard all their logics. I wasn't part of it, but I'm just standing by watching as everything goes down. And everyone that was associated with the church at that time looks back on the egg drop day as one of the like biggest nightmares of their life because it just went so chaos that the eggs did drop. It was over in 30 seconds. People got hurt. Todd Turner says they need the WKRP Thanksgiving turkey drop. Yeah, dude, it's and it gave that vibe. But people got hurt. Somebody definitely got a broken arm and went away in an ambulance. Other kids got stomped on. But they were putting like things like you could get Xboxes in the eggs. Like you'd open up a ticket, and the ticket would be for a new Xbox, and it was just like in the entrance of my church building, there's a t-shirt wall of old t-shirts, like from like different generations from our church. And there's an egg drop one. And every time somebody asks about the egg drop shirt, you can hear like a hush go over the room like, we don't speak of that day. Like it's that serious. So when I see this lady saving a kid's life from the egg drop, I'm like, yeah, it's a whole full circle scenario right there. In sad news, Carrie Everett, a former Miss North Carolina, died on April 5th. She was 22 years old, and she died from a rare cancer di rare cancer that she had, especially for the age of 22. Um, that's just tragic. Jack Black hosted Saturday Night Live this past weekend, um, joining the Five Timers Club. It's kind of crazy that he's hosted it more times than Ryan Gosling, but whatever. Um, but he did a good job being as Jack Black as you can be. But congratulations to him. One Piece season 3 for the live action has officially been titled The Battle of Alabasta, which is no surprise if you knew what was coming. And as if you hear the newest episode of the Pull List podcast, which I think comes out Wednesday, if it's not already, I don't think it's out this week. Um, we're on a weird recording schedule right now. Um, but Wendy's will be introducing uh, a DC Comics heroes and their weird counterparts as Happy Meal toys, where you get a Batman and you get a Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, like an obscure character that I chased forever to the point that I made my own Batman of Zur-En-Arrh action figure because I was certain I would never find one. Um, I swear, God, is my witness. I thought turkeys could fly. Um, but like, I think I can do this without causing damage. Hold on, like for real. I custom made this Batman of Zur-En-Arrh action figure off of the Batman Rest in Peace storyline because I thought for sure his cape fell off. I thought for sure it was such an obscure situation that this thing would never get an action figure. So I made this Batman of Zur-En-Arrh action figure in 2009. Now, if you'll notice, and I doubt you can see it, right behind it is a Todd McFarlane collector's sculpt Batman of Zur-En-Arrh action figure with much better design and stuff because the character kept getting better and it actually made a resurgence even last year. Um, but it's to the point now where we can get a Batman of Zur-En-Arrh in a Wendy's kids meal. So A, if you go to Wendy's, get me toys because I don't, my Wendy's here is kind of not great. But B, be on the lookout for those. Um, Going back to the Artemis, I want to read what they wrote, or what they said, uh, when they're heading into radio silence, and they wanted to share about God. It says, as we continue to unlock the mystery of the cosmos, I'd like to remind you of one of the most important mysteries there are on earth, and that's love. Christ said in response to what is the greatest command, that it was to love God with all that you are. He also, being a great teacher, said the second is equal to it, and that's to love your neighbor as yourself. And so, dude's literally got the whole world's attention, and chooses to share the gospel with it, and I appreciate that wholeheartedly. Because it's be pretty easy to shy away from that in that circumstance, and instead he leaned into it heavy. Um, so good job, Glover. Uh, let's see. Forrest Frank, I mentioned on the last week's episode that he was trying to come up with a band name for his not no longer called Dawn Patrol Band. And he offered a $10,000 prize for whoever came up with the best name for their band. Uh, and he gave that much money to the winner and the runner-up. Sorry, the winner and the runner-up gave away the prize. Um, and it sparked over thousands of donations, tens of thousands of donations to a Guatemalan children's center. So through the process, Frank was able to donate and raise money for a Guatemalan children's center, all in this process. So, like, I know he's not for everybody, and I know people might think his music's bubblegum and for children and everything else. And like, I get being critical of things, but I'm just saying, outside of talking too much sometimes and not being great at skateboarding, um, he's done some really good stuff with what he's been given. So excited to see that. Um, there were Christian massacres on Easter in Nigeria. Um, and 12 Christians were killed in attacks on two worship services on Easter Sunday in the Gadari state. And also 17 Christians in the Benue state on Easter during Easter morning worship services. Um, Based on the trend of Nigerian massacres of Christians. That's not surprising, especially for Easter. And I think the number that I saw for Good Friday was like 54. But I continue to pray for Nigerian believers and that whole community. The creator of OpenAI is now backing technology to directly brain link humans with AI so that your brain can interact and interface directly with AI and make commands without speaking and that have it respond to your thoughts versus having it respond to your commands. Y'all said it once, said it a million times. We are barking up such bad trees. Um, yeah. Also, with Artemis 2, one of the crew members named one of the craters after the astronaut Reed Wiseman's late wife, Carol. That's beautiful. Iran and the U.S. have agreed to a 2-week ceasefire and opening of the Strait of Hormuz. So that is a win in itself. The Rio de Janeiro Olympic Park caught fire on April 8th. Um, and it took 80 firefighters and 20 fire trucks to take the blaze down. Um, yeah, that looks like it's our news for the week. So let's go ahead and see what scripture we're going to be reading today. Oh, let's find a rock, paper, scissors dice. All right, that's not that one. Here we go. So we're going to roll. Rock is Old Testament, scissors is New Testament, and paper is the whole Bible. Old Testament. Okay. Now that means we need and just do two D20s and take one away. All right, we got two D20s, and we're gonna just subtract one, and that'll give us our number for what we're reading for the Old Testament. Darren says I dare an A program to try and keep up with my mind as fast as my thoughts change. Fair. All right, so we've got 8 and 10. So we're going to read out of the 17th book of the Bible. Put these guys back. Let me see if there's a setting I can change to get comments better. Either way. All right. 17th book of the Bible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Esther. Okay. Esther has 10 chapters, so we will roll a d10. I can peel a d10 out of my bag. So that's not going to work. I can't feel my fingertips on that hand right now. Hmm, that's a d10. All right. So let's see which book or chapter. Yeah, let's see which chapter of Esther we're reading. All right, we're reading chapter 1. All right, chapter 1 of Esther. Let me grab my little journal real quick. This is why I wear pants when I stream, in case I forget things. Oh. All right. Esther chapter 1. So we are in April 10th, Esther chapter 1. Oh, this is what happened during the time of Xerxes, which, yes, this is the Xerxes from the movie 300, by the way. Um, this is what happened during the time of Xerxes, the Xerxes who ruled over 127 provinces stretching from India to Kush. At the time, King Xerxes reigned from his royal throne in the citadel of Susa and officials, or Susa, and in the third year of his reign, he gave a banquet for all the nobles and officials. The military leaders of Persia and Media, the princes and nobles in the provinces were present. For a full 180 days, he displayed the vast wealth of his kingdom and their splendor and glory of his majesty. When these days were over, the king gave a banquet lasting 7 days in the enclosed garden of the king's palace for all the people, from the least to the greatest, who were in the city of Susa. The garden had hangings of white and blue linen fastened with cords of white linen and purple material and silver rings on marble pillars. There were couches of gold and silver on a mosaic pavement of porphyry, marble, mother of pearl, and other costly stones. Wine was served in goblets of gold, and each one from different from another, and the royal wine was abundant in keeping with the king's liberality. By the king's command, each guest was allowed to drink with no restrictions, for the king instructed all the wine stewards to serve each man what he wished. Queen Vashti also gave a banquet for the women in the royal palace of King Xerxes. Refresh comments. King Xerxes. On the seventh day, when King Xerxes was in high spirits from wine, he commanded the seven eunuchs who served him, Mehuman, Bitza, Harbona, Bigath, Bagatha, Zethar, and Carcass, to bring before him Queen Vashti, wearing her royal crown, in order to display her beauty to the people and the nobles, for she was lovely to look at. But when the attendants delivered the king's command, Queen Vashti refused to come. Then the king became furious and burned with anger. Since it was customary for the king's the king to consult experts in matters of law and justice, he spoke with the wise men who had understood the times and were closest to the king: Karshina, Shethar, Admatha, Tarshish, Maris, Marsena, Memucan, and the seven nobles of Persia and Media, who had special access to the king and were highest in the kingdom. According to the law, what must be done to Queen Vashti? He asked. She has not obeyed the command of the king Xerxes that the eunuchs had given her. Then Memucan replied, in the presence of the king and the nobles, Queen Vashti has done nothing wrong. Queen Vashti has done wrong, not only against the king, but also against all of the nobles and the peoples of the provinces of King Xerxes. For the queen's conduct will become known to all the women, and so they will despise their husbands and say, commanded, or King Xerxes commanded Queen Vashti to be brought before him, but she would not come. This very day, Persian and Median women of nobility who have heard about Queen's conduct will respond to all the king's nobles the same way. There will be no end to the disrespect and the discord. So, dude gets drunk at a 180-day long party, 187-day long party, commands his wife to come show how pretty she is in front of a bunch of other drunk guys, and then gets mad when she doesn't and says, "Hey guys, how do we punish her for this?" Top tier adulting right there. Um, Therefore, if it pleases the king, let him issue a royal decree and let it be written in the law of Persia and Media, which cannot be repealed, that Vashti is never again to enter the presence of King Xerxes. Also, let the king give her royal position to someone else who is better than she. Then, when the king's edict is proclaimed throughout all the vast realm, all the women with respect will respect their husbands from the last to the greatest. They're literally just protecting their insecurities by punishing this lady. The king and his nobles were pleased with this advice, so the king did as Memucan proposed. He sent dispatches to all parts of the kingdom, to each province in its own script, and to each people in their own language, proclaiming that every man should be ruler over his household using his native tongue. Oh, um, yeah. Guys, she didn't listen to me. What do I do? We make a rule. Everyone has to listen to their husbands. That's why. Jinkies. Um, it's because the dude in 300 made him bleed. That's why he's so insecure. Um, Tristan says if you're looking for a great breakdown of Esther, Matt Women's 10-minute Bible hour. He's a theologian and historian and did a deep dive verse by verse with worth listening to. All right, cool. Thanks, man. All right, so the main passage focus is on the conflict of Xerxes and Esther. Not Esther, what am I saying? Vashti. I'm jumping the gun here. And like he's worried that people will respond negatively to his wife not listening to him and not even remotely considering um to the fact that you just spent your government's money on a 180-day long party. Hey, Miss Skaggs, you want to be in the live video? Good morning. Um, but yeah, that's that's just bananas. Um, so yeah, main passage focuses that conflict and how that went down. Um, make sure I've got all the comments there. Okay. Who wrote it? You know what? I don't know this. Let's find out. Who wrote Esther? It's anonymous, um, but history does favor Mordecai's cousin or Esther's cousin Mordecai. So that's okay. I was just like, hey, if you had something you wanted to say, I'll let you jump in. Um, Anonymous or Mordecai or Pa Grape, as he's known in the streets. Who was it written to? Uh, People of Israel. Why was it written? History and encouragement. When was it written? Esther was written between the fourth and third centuries of King Xerxes' first rule, which would have been 486 to 465 BCE. Okay. Um, as a rough outline, passage location was Persia. All right. This one was not heavy on symbolism. This one was straight up a historical account. Um, but I will say they were comparing Vashti's response to all women's responses. Verse that stood out. It's pretty historical. Like nothing like was like poetically popping out. But I will just say the simple fact that she said no. Um, and I think that says enough on her own. Um, Verse 12, she said no. And she stood out. What can I learn from this? Uh, People using power selfishly won't respond well to not getting their way. And also, if you're surrounded by yes men, You'll never get an honest answer. All right. How can I apply this to my life? Don't be a douche. Um, but be responsible with what God gives me. And that's positions, resources, and relationships. Should be responsible with those. Refresh for comments real quick. Okay, cool. Was anything hard to understand? Just names. Um, Pop culture parallel reflects this passage. Um, I don't, it's just me. I'm not saying this is super accurate, but like I picture this as Jabba's cantina, like sitting around having the party, him trying to bring Leia in on the chain and bikini and stuff. I picture Jabba's palace as kind of Cersei's party thing. I'm drawing a little Jabba in the journal. Oh, ho, ho. Um, Memeable verse from this passage. Um, I feel like really the closest thing would be um the stuff around 16 and 17, but it's a stretch about the other people will hear that. What's the best song for the soundtrack? What's the best soundtrack for this chapter? Honestly, my first thought is In the Club with 50 Cent. Um, or Rock and Roll All Night. But just for the vibe of the party. But for Vashti, no scrubs, TLC. Oh. Um, that's my notes, my thoughts on that. Esther's always a great story to read. Oh, so as I get ready to go do my muggle job and some stuff going up, let you know some things going on, uh, faith and fandom wise, health wise, life wise, all the things these. Um, they had an appeal for my surgery on the 8th. They've got up to a month to respond to that. They could respond today. They could respond May 9th. Um, Again, not looking crazy great, and looks like I might just need to live with where things are until things get worse. And I'm trying to be super responsible with how I'm doing everything. So there's that. Um, I got some good writing done on the D&D novel while I was on vacation for a couple days this week. I'd really love to finish that book, writing it by April and have it for the June cons. Also, I'm just really want to finish it because I want y'all to read it because I'm really proud of it and it's super funny in my opinion. It's I've the parts I've let people read have made people laugh, have made people cry. I'm really excited for y'all to read it, but I want to finish it and finish it well. So trying to be patient. Um, I've got a new piece of Faith and Fandom merch that I'm working on. It's not in my hands yet, but it is designed, and we're seeing how it's going to play out. And Patreon supporters, you'll see that before probably anybody else. I do have an idea for a Narnia sticker, like the further up, further in thing with a waterfall. I'm working on that in my head. Um, yeah. Uh, but as it stands, I con wise, um, I'll be at Heroes Con and then Mid Atlantic Fantasy Con in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and then maybe Galaxy Con, and then there's a few. I actually need to put a con schedule together. But there's stuff coming up. But I've also during this time I've got two daughters dance recitals. My oldest daughter graduates from high school and a lot of other stuff going on between now and the summer. So while I'm not doing a ton of cons, like it's probably a good life choice that I'm not doing a ton of cons because I'd be missing actual stuff with my kids' lives. So um it is. This weekend is at South Carolina Comic Con. Ashley from Fangirling Over Jesus will be down there. And some other stuff too, but I'm gonna try and visit some shows that I'm not vending at. Um, and I'm planning to go hiking for my birthday around Free Comic Book Day, so I might be up in the Winston-Salem area for Free Comic Book Day. I won't have a booth, but I'll be up there. Um, but yeah, I just want to say thank y'all for taking the time to listen, to be encouraging. Forgive me for the power outage in the middle of everything. I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters for all that y'all do and for being the encouragements that you are. I'm gonna zoom in because y'all small. Um, why is it so small? Why are my eyes so bad? All right. Hmm. All right. So, Patreon supporters want to thank Zach T, Roshan, Ryan Felton, Jessica Luttrell, Kelly Townsend, Alan Wallace, Fab Quack, Rivka and Tristan Birch, Dot Winston, Michelle Stewart, uh, Liv Turner, David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Ron Herman, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Jay Sheed, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Mr. Net Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Jason Bullock, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for your incredible support and encouragement for doing all the things that you do and helping make faith and fandom possible in all the ways that you have. Can't say thank you enough. And as I'm heading out, I hope y'all have a great day as we're heading into more in the spring. I hope you have great opportunities. And while I will not likely be at a con, I will not likely see you at a con too soon. Um, I do hope to see you at a con soon or at life in general. I'll end with our goodbye verse. Trying with our goodbye verse. The Johns are so small. Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. Thank y'all for taking the time, and I will see y'all soon.